back to Unladylike Opinions. This is the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Season 2, Episode 11, Old Testament, New Revelations. So the episode picks right back up with the ladies comparing notes about Jen and what they should do moving forward. And, Whitney said if you don't share, she tells Lisa, if we don't share what we know, we might be in danger. And, Lisa starts crying again and saying that she doesn't know who Jen is. She thinks Jen was meeting up with someone other than her family. And Heather says when she saw her get out the Uber, she thought, she just didn't want me to know. She was like, I thought she just didn't want me to know who she was meeting or who was picking her up. She didn't think that it was another man. And it seems like Lisa knows who it is, but doesn't want to say. So Jeannie tells Lisa they need to know because they feel betrayed. And Mary over there biting off this cracker, and she put it right back in the tray. And I'm like, I hope that was your plate. But it looked like she put it back in the tray that all the other crackers was in. Like, ugh. So, Lisa said, when she asked her about the man that was talking about her at her kid's photo shoot, it set Jen off. And she said they ended up hugging it out. But as soon as she got in her car, Jen started texting her, saying, F you not my friend. She started getting all these crazy texts from her. And she asked if they got weird texts from Jen too. And they all said they did. And it seems disturbing that she said the way she said the word because, and she spelled it B-C-U-Z. And I'm like, am I missing something? Because I was so confused. What was the big deal of the way she said that? I mean, I hate when people do that, but I didn't know where Lisa was going with that. Okay. So then Meredith comes out her mouth and she said, she hired a private investigator because her son was being threatened and they felt like it was coming from Jen. Then she asked who wants to still be friends with Jen moving forward. And Jen was like, Jeannie is the only one that says she does because she can't just leave her to the sideline because she got arrested. And in her confessional, Jeannie was like, she feels uncomfortable because they are all bashing her without facts and she should probably watch her back around them. But then Heather says she would help Jen and she not going to do like everybody else and use this as an excuse to scatter and absolve herself from this. And she feels like that when the rest of the world walks away, she wants to be the friend that walks in for Jen. And Meredith asked if she gonna visit her in prison, and Heather was like, absolutely. I'll absolutely go. And Lisa said she has been there for Jen a lot, but at what point is being a good friend or just being stupid? And Meredith said, Meredith says, can we talk about the hundreds of lives that she has ruined? And am I supposed to have sympathy for her? And Heather says, to Meredith, she thought her and Jen was on the up and up. And, Meredith was like, that doesn't mean that I want to have a friendship with her. We are at 0. And I gave her chance after chance and she keep on slapping me in the face. And she was like, why would I show up for her? And Heather was like, now is the perfect time for Jen to show up and be the person that they know she can be because she is being stripped from everything that defines her. And, Mary said, she never seen any potential in Jen. She always knew it was a scandal there. And I'm like, Mary, be quiet because they say the same thing about you. Like, don't speak up on something that's directed right to you. So Whitney said it doesn't add up, but Jen owes them the truth, and Mary tell them to call her. And Heather tries to call her, but of course it goes straight to voicemail. And Meredith says she got to make something clear to them all. She's like, I got to make something clear to all of you. She was like, I don't want Jen in my presence. And if you invite her, do not invite me. That's what Meredith said. So the next day, everybody is waking up and you see Jeannie calling her husband and she tells her husband about the talk she had with the ladies the night before about Jen. And he said, there's always 3 sides to a story and you are always innocent until proven guilty. And then Mary walked past with this American flag pajama outfit. And I'm looking like, what the hell Mary got on? Looking a hot fucking mess. I just can't. So then you see Whitney in the kitchen, and they all in there making food and making mimosas or whatever. And Mary gonna come over there where Whitney was and like, oh, you made your egg so good. You gonna cook me an egg? And Whitney was like, do you want one? And she was like, yeah. And walks off, and she was like, okay. So really, Whitney really doesn't want to make Mary an egg, but she does it anyway because she was like, she don't want to hear Mary's mouth. But baby, it couldn't have been me because Mary would have been hungry because she wouldn't have got a paper towel out of me. And she over there scared Mary gonna comfort her if she don't get the egg right, girl. So then, after she done cooked Mary this egg, Mary said in her interview that she doesn't trust Whitney, and she gonna put the plate in the microwave so it can kill all the germs on it. And I'm like, okay, Mary. So Heather, Whitney, and Jeannie, they go on they separate way, and they go do some little outdoor things. And then, we see Meredith come outside on the balcony to talk to Lisa. And she said, she is stressed about the conversation she had with Cameron, about Mary. And at Lisa's event. And she asked Lisa, is there more that, she knows? And Lisa said Cameron said the members look at Mary like she is God. It's like she is God-like. And she thinks Cameron trusted Meredith and he felt close to her, but Meredith thinks Lisa knows more about what is going on than she is disclosing. And she asked Lisa why she never mentioned this about Mary to her before. And she said, you are so close to Mary, I didn't want to rattle y'all friendship. And Meredith was like, you just gonna have a conversation with, she was like, I'm just gonna have a conversation with Mary. And Lisa like, and say what? And I was like, don't get scared now. So Meredith thinks Mary should know about the cryptic conversations that are being had about her. And Lisa said, she wants to keep Cameron's confidence just like she would keep Meredith. And so I'm like, okay, how you gonna say half of it? I don't understand, Lisa. And so Heather, Whitney, and Jeannie, they arrive at the dog sledding thing. Whitney talking about she allergic to dogs, but she loves them, and she left her Zyrtec at home. And the man was like, oh, how old he is? And she was like, no, I'm talking about the medicine. I'm like, but no, you didn't think a dog name was Zyrtec. So Whitney said dogs are a lot easier to control than the bitches that are back home. And I holler. So Meredith, Mary, and Lisa go shopping. And I'm like, boring. I like to shop too, but, whatever. And then they go ice skating. Nobody knows how to ice skate but Lisa. And, she tries to teach them. But Mary said, God telling me to go sit down. And on the bus, Jeannie asks Heather and Lisa, what the girl name? Heather and Whitney, how did they get along with Lisa the other day? And, Heather says they got along well. And Whitney was like, yesterday validated a lot for her about Lisa. And Heather's like, that was the Lisa Barlow show. She claimed to be direct, but she makes sure that water is always stirred up and things are muddy, but she doesn't want her hands to get dirty. And I'm like, I totally agree with that. And she has all the information, but is unwilling to share it with anyone. And Jeannie said what she knows about Lisa is that she knows certain things but doesn't want to say because she doesn't want to be wrong. And she thinks that they are letting their cloudy judgment from things that Lisa did to them in the past, steered in the wrong way. But the Lisa she knows wouldn't do none of that. And I'm like, apparently you don't know Lisa all too well, Jeannie. So the girls arrive back at the house and they got a little spread of food laid out for them, and they go right into eating. And I'm like, did nobody wash their hands? And they over there eating or whatever, but I'm gonna let it go. So they go eat on the balcony, and Heather says she grew up in Vail, and she has a sister where she grew up in Colorado. Was it Colorado? I don't know. She grew up in Colorado. And she has a sister that stays there. And she was like, she hasn't had a close relationship with her sister because her sister was estranged from the family because of their faith. Because, they're Mormons. And, her sister like to smoke and drink or whatever. And that's like prohibited. So now that she is no longer Mormon, she feels horrible how she judged her sister. And Jeannie said, now you in the same boat with your sister. And now, y'all can relate to each other more. And she said she has a lot to do to make it up to her because she was pretty superior in the way she acted towards her sister. And then we finally see Jen again, and she shows up to her lawyer's office, and he tells her that she's been charged with wire fraud and money laundering. And she pleads, and he was like, you pled not guilty to both charges, and they will, get a discovery of the police report, the bank records, surveillance, and get a better idea of what they think their theory is, because we know you are innocent. Girl, bad. So she said what she is being accused of is the opposite of anything she would do, and the only fault she has is being too giving and helping too many people. And I'm like, Jen, let it go, girl. Just take your time. And she said, the whole experience is surreal for her, and she really thought Sharif was sick and she needed to be home, because she was like, she got a phone call and it came from Sharif's phone number, but it was not his voice on the other end. And they told her she needed to go get Omar and meet Sharif at the hospital, at University Utah Hospital. And I'm like, she must didn't make it to the house or whatever, because we see Omar getting escorted out the house when they raided it. So then she was like, then I get asked to pull over in the car. And she was like, then she starts crying and says, she worked too hard for this to happen to her. And she can take whatever is thrown her way, but for it to happen to her husband and her sons is killing her. And that was the end we saw Jen. So then the ladies are getting all dressed up in their little outfits for, what that girl said was raclette. I don't know, raclette meal or whatever. And Mary is still getting dressed, and she was like, I'm over it or whatever. Mary is over it. And they all taking shots, and then Mary comes down and they asked if she wanted to take a shot, and she said, no, I want meat. And I'm like, what? So somebody explain to me, why does Mary have this big tacky Chanel belt over her outfit? Like, you just got to have something labeled on you, and it doesn't make sense or whatever. So then they start trying all these different cheeses or whatever, and then Whitney comes out with, her shot ski. They got us a ski with shot glasses attached to it or whatever. So Mary was like, who does that at our age or even at Whitney's age? Me. Mary, that's what we do on girls trip. Keep up or stay at home next time. Thank you. So then she gonna say Whitney needs a lot of attention, and I'm like, so do you. So they go outside and have their little desserts and make s'mores or whatever, and Mary wants to go to bed, and she was like, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I need to go. But Whitney, wants to talk and asks her why she said all the hurtful things she said to her at the cooking class. And Mary over there falling asleep, and Whitney was like, you're not going to listen to me? And she was like, oh, I'm still listening. And she says, Whitney hurt, you hurt me too by not picking up the phone and not listening to me. And Whitney says, I'm not your child, Mary. And Mary said, thank God. And Mary said, Whitney said, you don't care. Mary said, I'm not doing this with you tonight. Good night. And Whitney said, you don't care about me as much as I care about you. And Mary was like, Whitney has been drinking. She not going to remember what we talked about the next morning. So I'm not doing this with her tonight. And Whitney said, she's the only one Mary treats like this. And Lisa like, no. She treats everybody the same, which is an absolute truth. And Meredith tries to get Mary to come back and come talk to, Whitney. And Mary said, no, baby, not tonight. Then Whitney goes on to talk about the things that are out there about Mary. I've protected her from all this when I'm asked about her. And her congregation worship her like she is God. And she was like, she believed it, and she realized, she was believing a lie. Just like the congregation. And they asked Lisa what Cameron knows, and she tells him to ask him. And Heather says it shouldn't be this hard for Lisa to tell them what she knows. And then Jeannie says, She now know why Whitney and Heather are so frustrated with Lisa, because she throws out hints and won't tell us what it is. And I'm like, oh, now you know. So Heather said, we just witnessed one friend get arrested, and we all seen the red flags. We seen all the stuff. We turned a blind eye to it, and we turned the other way because we didn't want to accept that person. We want to upset that person. And now you telling us we got another friend that says they're victimized by Mary, and you won't tell us what's going on. And Meredith says, she had a conversation with Mary, and she told her what was being said about her in her church. And she said, Mary said, what religion and what church that people don't have something negative to say about? And Heather was like, that's fair. And then Lisa was like, she is respectful. Lisa was like, she is respectful and she believes what Cameron says. And he said he has religious trauma being a member of Mary's church. And Meredith is over it. Meredith said religious trauma is the most abstract thing she has ever heard in her life. All the insinuations are being made that are way more damaging than what the truth is. I have stood behind Mary because she has been a good friend to me, but I am being told all these cryptic messages and nothing is clear, and I'm getting angry and upset. I can't do the circles anymore. I need answers. Give me a concrete example. And this when Lisa blurts out that Cameron took out a mortgage on his house and gave Mary $300,000. I'm like, say what now? Why would he do that? Mary got that type of power. Let me find out. And I can't wait to see what gonna come up out of this, because I'm like, ooh, child, Mary. But next week look like it's gonna be good, and gonna get more about old Mary Crosby. And so that was my review of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Like, comment, share, subscribe. I will get back to you guys next week. Goodbye.